live. YouTube, what's going on? I got a cord down the center because my mic's about to die. I don't want to die mid show on you guys, so it's gonna be awkward having a cord right down the center. But hopefully it charges fast. Makes for a good hook, right? When you have a cord right down the center of the two helmets on the side. Today, though, I'm giving you guys. I got 8 spicy takes for this football season. We got 3 on the NFL side, 5 on the college football side. I'm doing this for one reason and one reason only, to keep the receipts. Because we all have those takes in August where we're like, damn, my gut says this is going to happen. And then it does happen in December. And then we're hanging out with our homies like, damn, dude, I swear I said something. Socks back and stuff. Like, I swear I believe that was going to happen. Like, I knew that was going to happen. But you don't got receipts. There's nothing to prove that. So that's what we're doing today. A lot of these are spicy. Don't think any of these I'd put my absolute money on. Maybe a couple. Actually, there's 2 that I would go to the bank and bet that they'd happen. But let's dive into it. And I'm ranking them by the confidence level in which I think they will happen. First spicy take in the NFL. We're starting in the National Football League. I think we get a retirement from not 1 but 2 long-time NFL starters. One second. 2 longtime NFL starters retire this upcoming season. And right away, we all think, all right, Aaron Rodgers. Max is not a hot take. I get you. But amongst the next 4, between Flacco, Cousins, Stafford, and Russell Wilson, to make this take even spicier, I probably could have said we get a retirement from 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks this offseason and just go Stafford and Russ. But I don't truly believe that in my core, so I'm not going to be clickbaity. But I think we get Rodgers. He said that. It's not a spicy take. We're between Flacco, Russ, Stafford, and Kirk Cousins. One of those guys retires. For Kirk Cousins and Matt Stafford, the way that they would retire is an injury thing. I think the Stafford back thing is significant. Like, those are the injuries that make a quarterback retire, right? If it's an ankle, if it's a knee, you can rehab it, even if you lose the notch of mobility from back. Dude, if that becomes a serious nagging thing, you look around like, dude, what am I doing? Stafford's taking hits his entire career. That's intriguing to me. No one's talking about that. Cousins, I just don't think Cousins is going to be a good NFL quarterback anymore. And he looks around and he's like, dude, I have a good run here. What am I doing? I don't got that mobility. I can see him hanging him up. Flacco, obviously he's been playing for ages. And then Russell Wilson. I can't see Russ being a backup. And I think Russ will ultimately be a Hall of Fame quarterback. And so if you're a Hall of Fame quarterback, you're not sitting and watching. And yet I think right now we all think, at some point Jackson Dart's got to play. So if Jackson Dart plays, and we don't think Russ is going to be a backup, I can see this being the end of the road for Russ. He's on his, 4th team? His 4th team being an NFL starter? Guys rarely get 2. If you're a Hall of Famer, you get 2. Maybe a 3rd. He's on his 4th team. There's no way he gets a 5th starting job. I don't think Russ would be a backup. I think there's a world where Russell Wilson retires this upcoming offseason. That's the first spicy take. Second spicy take. And as I say, you're going to be like, Matt, this ain't spicy. But I will put my rep on it. I'm making a video in a YouTube short form and long form video right now. There is going to be a coaching bloodbath in college football this December. Maybe even November, but an absolute bloodbath. Why? A bunch of different reasons. First off, there was an active coaching carousel last year. There was an active coaching carousel in December of 2023. That was the Kalen DeBoer, the Nick Saban, the Jed Fish, all of that movement. Very quiet coaching carousel move this past December. In fact, to give you guys some stats, where was that? It was 25% of Power 4 teams had a coaching turnover, I believe, in 2023. I believe it was 15 of those teams. So I guess just under 25%. There is going to be a bloodbath in December, which is fascinating because, here, let me explain the take further. Look at conference by conference. In the ACC, you can make an argument that 8 of those head coaches could be on the hot seat this year. If not 8, there's 5 that are certainly right now front of mind in Virginia, Florida State, Virginia Tech, I love Justin Wilcox. I don't know if I really would put him in here, but Cal and then Stanford, obviously with the Frank Reich situation. There's 3 other ones that you could look at. Pitt of a 17-team conference, what, half their coaches potentially? All right. The Big Ten. What if Michigan has a bad year this year? What if USC has a bad year this year? What if Nebraska stalls and has a bad year this year? What if Kirk Ferentz decides that this is the end of the road? That wouldn't be a firing, but what if he leaves? Wisconsin, Luke Fickell, year 3, I believe. Something's got to give. All of those programs are big-time premier jobs. Maybe not Iowa right now in 2025, but all the other ones, big-time job. SEC. The SEC is fascinating. You go LSU with Brian Kelly, 4th season, 9-4 last year. What if Notre Dame keeps balling and Brian Kelly with Garrett Nussmeier coming back? They don't get it done. Arkansas, Sam Pittman, 6th year. He's 30-31. Something got to give. Mississippi State, Jeff Lebby. What if Mississippi State's trash again this year? Auburn, Hugh Freeze, 3rd year. He's 11-14 right now. What if they're bad this year? Oklahoma, Brett Venables. This is the one that's covered the most. 22-17, about to be his 4th offseason. These are big-time programs that all could very well have a coaching decision this year. I mentioned Kirk Ferentz with Iowa before. A lot of people believe this could be a farewell tour for Kyle Whittingham. What about Mike Gundy? What if Oklahoma State's bad this year? That is a lot of programs and a lot of what-ifs that I just said, but it's not that far-fetched if these teams have bad Septembers where we're like, oh, crap, this could go down. 2 things, though, that it's worthwhile mentioning. 1, the NIL factor is real with this, right? When I was playing 10 years ago, if you wanted to fire a head coach, you had to buy him out. The pot of where that money came from your boosters. Now those boosters want to spend those same funds on NIL and in the transfer portal to go get guys. So I do think schools will have a longer leash with a lot of these coaches, especially if teams go like 7-5 kind of thing, where it's not trash, but it's not championship. I also think administrators and fans haven't fully adjusted to what it means to be in a Power 2 conference in 2025. We're like 9-3, 9-4. That might as well be a 10-win season 4 years ago. And then also what's super fascinating is all these teams, if they end up having turmoil, and there's a lot of these blue blood power programs, do they fire their coach earlier in the season to position themselves to go and get one of the big fish rather than waiting to maybe let their coach go in December? But then at that point, you're behind the 8 ball. With all these potential openings and limited candidates that excite those fan bases, a la, just for conversational purposes, what if it's John Gruden and you're one of these SEC or Big Ten programs and you're middling right now and you have a shot at John Gruden, hypothetically speaking? You'd be more incentivized to clear the runway in October, clear the runway in early November, than let it bleed into Thanksgiving or bleed into December. That's always been a thing, especially with the early signing window. That could be more so than what we've seen in the past, a bigger factor, because the competition for the available candidates would be extremely slim. This sucks. A lot of people in my seat don't talk about, coaching carousels because it's not a fun topic, but that shit's real. 100%. With that, hot take number 3. I guess I'm going to hold true to my confidence level. So I'm going to flip the order of this. I'm going with the takes that I feel most confident in. And the number 3 one is Michael Penix will be the best quarterback in the NFC South this time next year. When you unpack it, you got Baker Mayfield, you got Bryce Young, you got Tyler Shuck, and you got Michael Penix. So basically the spiciness in this take says that I think Michael Penix is going to be better than Bryce Young. That's not that big of a stretch, but he's going to be better than Baker Mayfield. I believe that. Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback. I think Michael Penix has a chance to be great. Those of you guys that have followed my content closely, I've been on the Penix bandwagon since before the Falcons drafted him at 8. If Penix was in this past NFL draft class, he would have been the first quarterback taken overall. And even if you disagree with that, he wouldn't have slid past 2 or 3. There would have been a team trading up. He's that good. And the optics of what his class is, he's kind of hiding in the shadows we pay attention more to the two guys drafted after him, Bo Nix and J.J. McCarthy, than we do Penix. Penix is a stud, man. I think the Falcons could totally sneak up on people. I think they could win the NFC South. Michael Penix unlocks the Falcons' weapons, which I know fantasy folks have been wanting for 3 years now. He's the ticket that does it. Look out, Drake London. Look out, Bijan Robinson. Michael Penix, best quarterback in the NFC South 2026 offseason. Hot take number 4. Deion Sanders is coaching in the SEC next year. It's tied to a lot of the factors that I just mentioned with there being so many big-time college program jobs potentially coming available, which obviously that plays a factor in here. Because of that competition and boosters looking around of like, man, there's the coaching pool of like who we could go get. It's not that big. But, hey, Mr. AD, I'm a booster and you tell me you can go get Deion Sanders, shoot, I'll cough up a bunch of money. And I think the price tag to go get him could be so steep. I also think there's a world where Colorado takes a step back from what they were last year. Shedeur was a baller. I've been a believer in Shedeur. What he did at preseason game 1 was no surprise to me. You guys know I had Shedeur for a lot of the draft process ahead of Cam Ward. I was a believer. I was shocked that he slid. The reason being is because he did so much for that offense and that team last year. Without Shedeur, I could see Colorado being a middling Big 12 team. Deion's looking around being like, dude, I have a shot to go do this at the SEC. Yeah, an SEC school would be like, if we pair Deion's marketing and recruiting ability with our financial resources, we can go get you the next Shedeur. I just think with all those schools that I mentioned, someone will cough up the dough. It'll be too great for Deion to pass up. Hot take number 4, Deion Sanders coaching in the SEC or gets an SEC job this offseason, and he heads for the Power 2. Hot take number 5. Real quick comment section. What do we got here? Toby, good to see you again. Lord Jimbo, good to see you again. Nicole, good to see you again. I'll get to these comments after I'm done with this section, but Jose, I'm one of the best quarterbacks in LSU history. Yeah, sorry, this is not Joe Burrow's live. My bad. But on that take, Jose, you'll like this. LSU makes my my list of the hottest takes that I got this college football season. I think LSU wins the SEC, and I think Garrett Nussmeier is quarterback 1 in next year's NFL draft conversation. I'm a believer in Garrett Nussmeier. People in the know how good Garrett Nussmeier is. The average college football fan sees like a 6'2" white guy who's not a dual threat quarterback, and I feel like it's like, what? Like he's the guy? Garrett Nussmeier has anticipation injected into his DNA, or I guess you don't need injections. It's part of his DNA. That to me is such a critical factor when you're projecting how a college quarterback can progress into the NFL. Garrett Nussmeier is that dude. I almost made this a notch spicier and saying Garrett Nussmeier wins the Heisman, and you have a run of Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, and Garrett Nussmeier, and LSU starts having a conversation for being quarterback U, which is wild because LSU is always debating receiver U and DBU. But there's a world where after this season, LSU is saying, hey, we're quarterback U because of Garrett Nussmeier. LSU right now is 9 in the AP poll. Their running game was trash last year. If you give this offense a running game, there's no reason this offense can't be absolutely dynamic. I know they got to replace a bunch on the offensive line, but you just look at the SEC. I mean, there's a world where South Carolina is not what everyone thinks they are. There's a world where Alabama's slow to roll. There's a world where A&M is not what everyone thinks they could be. LSU, it's just a gut take. I'm a believer in Nussmeier. Brian Kelly's not necessarily my cup of tea, but that dude can win games. I genuinely feel like last year was a shock to LSU. You win 9 games. I think that's a team that's like, damn, we should have won 11 games. We should not have lost to USC. We should not have lost to Florida. We should have been an 11-win team. 2024 got away from us. 2025 is the year. Part fact, part gut feel, LSU wins the SEC. Garrett Nussmeier is the top quarterback taken in next year's NFL draft. Hot take number 6, or whatever number we're on. J.J. McCarthy is not great this year in the NFL. I don't know if this is a hot take. I feel like this depends on where everyone else is at. People have a lot of belief in what Kevin O'Connell can be. We are underestimating how good Kirk Cousins was when he was wearing a Vikings uniform, and we're underestimating how good Sam Darnold was last year. Yes, Sam Darnold had a great play caller, had great pieces around him. I've been saying it for years, literally 2 years. So it's plural. But I said, get Sam Darnold with the right structure. That dude's got the talent to be a big-time NFL quarterback. We're underestimating those factors. We're overestimating the impacts of what a play caller can have. Kevin O'Connell is a great coach, but at the end of the day, you need a quarterback to run the show. J.J. McCarthy was never asked to run the show at Michigan. The Vikings regress in a loaded NFC North. I'm not going to say he's going to be bad, but I think we'll look back after this year and say, okay, he's clearly the worst at this current time of the quarterbacks that were in that first-round draft conversation. Just feels like around Vikings conversation, they're trying to like prop him up, which I know that was covered by, what was it, Colin Cowherd and Diana Rossini on Fox, but I agree with that. J.J. McCarthy, not great this season. Vikings regress. Hard to get wins in that division. Hot take number 6. Spicy hot take number 7. These last two were the ones that I feel the least confident in. My Octo buddy keeps screwing up, so I got to put it down. If there is one quarterback, which has happened in recent memory, a quarterback that we're not talking about in August, that in May is in first-round draft conversations, who's that guy? Happened last year with Tyler Shuck. Nobody was talking about Tyler Shuck as a first-round guy. I know Shuck ended up going in the second round, but still, he was in that conversation. People thinking he's a first-round guy. Who is that guy this year? It's Kevin Jennings at SMU. And the reason no one's talking about him is because everyone shits on SMU for like, oh, they had an easy schedule last year. They shouldn't have been in the CFP. Or they say, dude, I saw Kevin Jennings in the Penn State game. That's the first time a lot of people tuned into what he was. And it was a cold game in December on the road at Penn State against a team where he was getting outmanned. Penn State's just front seven was way better than SMU's. Kevin Jennings stole a starting job last year. Like he went out and took an established starter's job at SMU. This is his first offseason being the dude that matters in college football. This is his third year on campus, which in my experience, every quarterback I played took the biggest jump year 2 to year 3. Kevin Jennings is a baller. Rhett Lashley is a great play caller. They love what Kevin Jennings is. He's perfect, can win from the pocket, but athletic enough to make plays with his feet. Again, I think he can take a big step. He's the quarterback that nobody's talking about in college football that I think could be a first-round guy here in, 7 months, 8 months? Hot take, number 7, Kevin Jennings, look out. ACC quarterback picture is fascinating. And then the last hot take, the surprise team in the NFL is coming from the NFC West. Facts. I don't know who it is. It's a little bit of a guessing game. That's why I'm not saying, hey, the Arizona Cardinals are going to be the surprise team. Because I'm going to say these takes. I want to believe them. But it's coming from the NFC West. The Cardinals, I think Kyler Murray is a good quarterback. It just hasn't come together for the Cardinals. Last year, they couldn't win big games. It's make or break time this year for Gannon. Like they either got to win or that whole staff's getting turned over. They either got Kyler Murray. If they middle again this year, Kyler Murray's gone for the Cardinals. I just don't think you can do that. I don't think you can win 5, 6, 7 games and not have some sort of change. And if they do keep Kyler Murray and fire the head coach, like that's just an awkward situation. So it could be the Cardinals. They invested a ton in defense this year. Offense that was good last year, invested a ton in defense. I could totally see the Cardinals being the surprise team. I could see the Seahawks being the surprise team for the same logic that I just made a couple points ago. People are underestimating how good Sam Darnold was last year. We latch on, similar to the Kevin Jennings point. People latch on to one game last year for the Vikings, the playoff game. Oh, Darnold can't get it done. The Vikings won 14 games last year. Most regular season wins they've had since 1995. Yes, they had a great head coach, but you got to have a quarterback. And yes, they have great playmakers, but you have a quarterback that can can make moves there. Darnold can be a really good NFL quarterback. We're falling into the trap of thinking that he's just a byproduct of all those things around him, because we're all also underestimating how good Kirk Cousins was 2 years ago in a Vikings uniform pre-Achilles injury. Could be the Seahawks. Very well could be the Seahawks. Lean on your defense. Protect the ball if you're Sam Darnold. Jackson Smith-Njigba, Cooper Kupp, feed the rock to K9, old school mentality offense. It could be the Hawks. The Rams, this is not a hot take, but I'm a believer in the Rams. They wouldn't be the surprise team per se, but they could win the NFC. And then no one's talking about the Niners either. I shouldn't say that. Some people are talking about the Niners. You get Christian McCaffrey back healthy. Kyle Shanahan's odds for coach of the year are 17th highest in the NFL. I would hammer those odds. People are sleeping on the Niners. They took a step back last year. They still got a lot of talent and a lot of dudes around them. Between the Cardinals, the Seahawks, and the Niners, one of those teams is going to be the surprise team in the NFL. And watch the NFC West represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. That's what I got. There was 8 of my hot takes. Made those for the receipts only. So after the season, we can look back and be like, Max, you were either a dumbass. Why did you say that take? Or Max, I remember back in August 14th, you said this take. I believed you. Came to fruition. Came true. There we go. IDK Billy says cold take. Billy, which one was that? Oh, dang, I totally forgot that. Toby, my bad. Another hot take. I think one of my alma maters makes it to the CFP this year. Between Pitt and USC, one of them makes it to the CFP. I love Pitt as a sleeper ACC title team. I think Clemson's going to be and I think the ACC could totally get 2 teams. So if Clemson's one of them, Miami scares me. Dude, Pitt is a great sleeper team. They got a quarterback that they believe in. They got an offensive coordinator that they love. It's been a long time since that's happened at Pitt, that combo. Defensive line, that's the best defensive line they've had since their ACC title run. They have a first-team All-American at running back. They got a first-team All-American at DB. If they can just be solid in the secondary, Pitt is a great sleeper team for the CFP. I know this is a homer take, but it's a good take. And then same for USC. This is the first time that I've been on the media side of the business, not playing, that nobody is talking about USC this offseason. The past 7 off seasons that I've had, there's at least someone that's like, hey, get ready for USC. They got Caleb Williams coming back. They got Lincoln Riley. They've recruited really well. They've done some damage in the portal. They got Danton Lynn as their defensive coordinator. Look out for the Trojans. Nobody is saying that this year. This is the least hype that a USC team has had going into a season, which I love for the Trojans, because you eliminate that chatter. You get gritty. You eliminate the flash. Jaden Maeva can play. There's a reason USC went out and got him last offseason. Between Pitt and USC, one of those schools of my alma maters makes the CFP. Lord Jimbo, IDK Billy says McCarthy's going to be a mid quarterback. We all knew that. Nah, you might know that. I agree with that. A lot of people love JJ McCarthy. Love. But I will say that's one of those takes that if we're right, people are going to be like, oh, yeah, I mean, we always knew it was a risk when he came out of Michigan and, he never was really asked to drive the car for the Michigan offense. Like, yeah, I mean, these things happen. No, that's revisionist history, or not revisionist history. That's hindsight's 2020. But I agree with you. Holstein and Reed are about to go crazy. Yeah, if you don't know about Pitt, keep an eye on Pitt. I don't know if this is a hot take, but if you said, Max, you get to take Georgia Tech, Pitt, and Louisville to make the ACC title game, or Miami, I'm taking Georgia Tech, Louisville, and Pitt if I was betting. Dude, I'm so sorry, guys. Here, let me just take this off. My Octo buddy's all messed up. I'm moving this down here. Sorry, TikTok. Cool. That's a good conversation point, though. Would you take Miami to make the ACC title game? Or would you take Miami? Or would you take Georgia Tech, Pitt, and Louisville? I would take the latter. I like Tech over Clemson. A lot of people like Georgia Tech. TikTok, what do we got here? Who remembers the 400-yard 4 TD masterclass against Rice in 2017? My guy, Ba Wit Da. I can't say your username, but appreciate you. Jason H says Miami for sure. I'm not there, dude. Carson Beck's right elbow gives me some anxiety. Purple Rain, appreciate the gifts. Number 2 gift badger. IDK Billy, my goat, Damon Williams, top 5 college football quarterback. I'm good with that take. I think Damon Williams could be a baller. Everyone's on the Washington sleeper team, though. So that's not a sleeper team. You can't say Washington as your sleeper team because everyone's talking about Washington. And I guess Washington's not ranked by a lot of people. But to me, Washington is not a sleeper team. When you ask 20 college football analysts and 10 say Washington as their sleeper team, I think the definition of that means they're not a sleeper team. Beck revenge tour. I'm not there on Carson Beck, but for his own sake, as a former 5-star guy that like empathizes with the position that he's in, I hope that he gets in there. Give me a good story from a night at Shellbacks. Dude, I went to 6-man 2 weeks ago, and Shellbacks line was crazy. Some flip cup in the Shellbacks back table. It's a good time. Thoughts on Tennessee football record prediction? What's Tennessee's record? Don't love Tennessee, man. I think losing Nico is tough. I think Nico is better than the average fan gave him credit for because the expectations for him were so high. Anytime he wasn't like a first-round guy, people were like, oh, the dude sucks. I think Nico is a good college quarterback. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole schedule right now just because I want to keep it tight. But when it's going to come down to Joey Aguilar, right? Someone commented on one of my videos that the other guy is really pushing for time. I don't know his name, but I'm slow to roll on Tennessee, simply from a math equation too. Because if you like, hey, what Marcel Reed could be at A&M, and you like what Lenora Sellers could be at South Carolina, and you like maybe Alabama taking a step, and you like LSU, and you love DJ Lagway at Florida, it's only so many wins to go around. So one of those teams has to take a step back. Tennessee, to me, could be that team. Fun story for you guys right there. I haven't said this in a little while. Back in 2011, when I was getting recruited, Josh Heupel was at Oklahoma. I loved Oklahoma because at that time they were like quarterback U. They had yes, it was USC, don't get me wrong, but they had back-to-back Sam Bradford. It was like, what, a 4-year starter, and then Landry Jones, 4-year starter. But Oklahoma wasn't sure if I was athletic enough for them, which, joke's on me, maybe that was in fact the case. So Josh Heupel flew up to my high school basketball game. We were playing my rivals. I only dunked in a game once, and it was in that game on the baseline, literally 15 feet away from Josh Heupel. Very next week, Oklahoma gave me the offer, and I was like, hell yeah, there we go. Luckily for Oklahoma fans, I didn't go there because Baker Mayfield, ironically, was my class, but Josh Heupel, man, came to my high school basketball game one time. Thoughts on Bowling Green and Eddie George? I don't have a Bowling Green take. My bad. Jacoby, we need some insight on USC. What questions you got, man? I got to study up on the beat. I got to go watch the press conferences, see what the dealio is. User 8979 and a bunch of numbers after that. Am I a believer in LSU? I am. About 15 minutes ago, I said one of my hot take for the season. I think LSU wins the SEC, and I think Garrett Nussmeier ends up being quarterback 1 in next year's draft class, which I don't know if that's a spicy take per se, but no, a lot of people have Drew Aller and Cade Klubnik above him. I'm going Garrett Nussmeier. What's the ceiling and what's the floor for Bryce Underwood? Floor is he's not a starter by the end of the season. It's hard for true freshmen to adjust to college football. The ceiling, he's the best quarterback in the Big Ten returning next season. Right? Yeah. That's where I would go. That's where we go. If Brian Kelly doesn't make it to the playoffs, is he fired? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I can see a world where they go 9-3, miss the playoffs because the SEC ends up being a bloodbath, but they can convince. Here's the scenario, and I literally talked about this in my live. This is a good question. No, I don't think so. I don't think he has to make the playoff. I think there's a world where LSU goes 9-3. They miss the playoff. They're pissed that they missed the playoff, but LSU looks around and says, there are so many other coaches getting fired in college football, which I talked about, 20 minutes ago on this live. Because there's so many coaches getting fired in college football, there's not enough quality candidates to replace those coaches. So LSU can convince themselves, let's give Brian Kelly one more year and not battle with all the other blue blood programs that could potentially be in the market for a head coach. So I don't think it's a have to make it to the playoff year for Brian Kelly. Any Steelers hot takes? I think Rodgers could be good this year. I think the Steelers can make the playoffs. I think he's moving better than the clips that I've seen. He's moving better than he was last year. Rodgers is still that dude. I know he's not personality everyone's cup of tea, but Rodgers is still that dude. I don't think they're winning the Super Bowl, so that's not a hot take for you. But I can see the Steelers making the playoffs. Can Darnold repeat in Seattle system with that O-line? Everyone's been talking about the O-line this year, this whole offseason. So to me, I think there's been so much attention on that group needing to be better that they will be better. I don't think Darnold puts up the stats he did last year, but I think Darnold has a good year. I do. The Steelers floor is 10-7. Travis Wilson, what's going on, man? Did I reveal my TV schedule in one of my last lives? If you're on this live, I haven't announced this on social media, but this year I'll be calling games for ESPN. So fired up about that. With the ACC network. The press release hasn't come out. I know my first 3 games yet. They've asked me not to say anything until they announce the press release, but I feel comfortable telling you guys that I'll be with ESPN this year. But TBD on what games I'm playing. Natty pick. Gosh, I don't want to just throw. Let me think about that. Next live I go on, I will have a natty pick for you guys. I'll make that note. What else we got? I need a question of the day. Give me a life question. Give me a the best question on Tuesday was advice to a current 5-star quarterback. What else we got? It's Jeff Robertson. We just talked Vol. Sorry, man. You got to give up the football thing, man. Forget all about it. That's tough, dude. Not a fan? Why not? Brendan, what was your favorite place to eat in Pittsburgh? Noodlehead, right? That's what it was called. Shady Side Thai food. Fire. Hopefully it's still there. But that was my go-to. What's my bucket list game to announce? I announced on the radio USC Notre Dame. That was sick. That'd be awesome to do on TV. Yeah, there was the USC radio guy in like LA or like Southern California got sick, so they had me step in. What's a better one to do? Probably USC Notre Dame TV. That'd be big time. That'd be a full circle moment. Thoughts on Lincoln Riley? I'm a fan of Lincoln Riley. I am. I know it hasn't worked out for USC, but I don't think it's all been a Lincoln Riley issue. Lincoln Riley's made one big bad decision or poor decision, and he's said this himself, and I completely agree. He totally misjudged how to leverage the portal in year 2 at USC, and he's paid the price for that decision in year 3 and year 4 at USC. Or wait, is this year 4 or year 5 for you, Lincoln Riley? Is this already year 5? Whatever. You guys get my point. That one decision he's been paying the price for. And then he's also had to have the administration around him wake up to the fact of how important NIL is. USC has cranked it up a whole nother notch when it comes to NIL this past offseason, the past 9 months. So there's factors that have legitimately changed that I think Lincoln will be a better coach moving forward. I thought his play calling last year was not great in critical moments, but I think he has a track record of showing that he can evolve and will evolve. I will say, though, 7 years ago, Lincoln Riley was cutting edge with his play calling and his offensive mind and offensive brilliance. The game of football has caught up to him. So that being his differentiating factor, yes, he's still a brilliant offensive mind, but I don't think it's as significant of a factor now because the rest of the world's caught up to him. So how does he evolve? And to me, like, the evolution he needs to have is wind the clock backwards. In the fourth quarter, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Don't always have to have the most creative passing play call ever. Oftentimes you have better play calls. Oftentimes you're running the ball well. Trust that and ride with that. I think Lincoln Riley's better this year. USC sneaks up on some people. Lincoln Riley is a good head coach. And USC fans, if you're being honest with yourself, you're looking and saying, last time we fired our head coach, I can't think of another program that the last 3 head coaches they have fired are all current college football head coaches. Even Clay Helton at Georgia Southern. That's unheard of. Usually when a coach gets fired, they have to go be a coordinator somewhere. Or like you don't really hear from them ever again. USC, the past 3 head coaches, Steve Sarkisian, Lane Kiffin, and Clay Helton, all current head coaches. And oh, by the way, the 4th guy, Ed Orgeron, won a national title. So USC fans know in the back of their mind, shit, if we fire Lincoln Riley, he's going to go do the same thing at Florida or something like that. Because if Florida were to let Billy Napier go, I guarantee they're giving a call to Lincoln Riley. Any of those SEC schools, they would be giving Lincoln Riley a call because they understand that it wasn't just a Lincoln Riley thing for why USC has not had success. That's brutal, dude. Thoughts on Josh Heupel? I think he's a great coach. I think he's going to get screwed this year by not having Nico as his quarterback, and they could have some quarterback issues. I think he's a great coach, though. But Tennessee makes me nervous. How far are the Tampa Bay Bucks going? A lot of people love the Bucks. I love the Falcons this year, so I'm slow to roll on them. I think the Falcons win the NFC South. Bucks, I guess, maybe get a wild card, but I think they're on the outside looking in. Had my anniversary yesterday, and one sec, my content guy just posted something. Let me check it out. Johan, what's up, man? How we living? Love it. Thoughts on the Broncos? The Broncos and the Commanders and the Arizona State Sun Devils and the Indiana Hoosiers, South Carolina Gamecocks a little bit, all make me nervous. They all make me nervous because they overperformed in a big way last year. Maybe take South Carolina out of that. Do they come back to reality a little bit this season? If I'm taking the under on the win total for the Commanders. I'm taking the under. Actually, I don't know Arizona State's win total, but I don't think Arizona State wins the Big 12. I feel like they had the perfect storm last year. Broncos the same way. And I'm seeing all the Bo Nix headlines about camp and all the things he's doing, but it just makes me nervous. That division is loaded. I'm a believer in Geno Smith and what Pete Carroll could do for the Raiders. Wouldn't surprise me at all if the Broncos, I won't say regress, but stay on par with what they were last year. Everyone's expecting them to take the next step. I'm not there. They were ahead of a schedule last year. It's the same feeling internally I have for what the Houston Texans were this time last year. Everyone loved the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud. And get ready. The Texans are going to be right on the same level of the Bills and the Chiefs and all that. Nobody's talking like that right now. And it worries me that, again, teams like Arizona State, the Commanders, the Broncos, you fast-track things a year ago. Do you settle back at a more realistic, normal level? I could totally see that happening. Should I go to the UW versus OSU game or the UW versus Oregon game, or should I go to both? This is a very hard decision. Where is the UW Oregon State game? Because all else being equal, you got to go to Washington, Oregon. That game could be sneaky good, sneaky great. That game could have real CFP implication. Oh, you're talking, dude, this is how you know I'm from the Northwest. You said OSU, and I thought Oregon State. IDK Billy, you're MVP of the live today. Most engaged guy today. Ohio State at Washington, or you go Oregon at Washington. Ooh. I'd go Ohio State versus Washington for two main reasons. One, Ohio State at Washington doesn't happen often. That's an extremely rare matchup, maybe the first time ever. And two, look at that date, September 27th. Still going to be good weather in Washington. When I grew up in Washington, everyone always said, hey, it's September, that's when the bad weather starts. Not that I'm a weather guy, but I feel like global warming or whatever the impacts are. Now September is also a really nice month in Seattle. So the sailgating is going to be elite. Get yourself on the water pregame. Bring your Ohio State fans. Go to Ohio State versus Washington in the month of September in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. Gavin, what's going on? I'm going to MSU and YSU this year. What game is that? Very hard decision. I'm from Bellevue, so I need to watch at least one game per season. Love it. Yeah, go Ohio State, dude. You also get them early on in the year where the buzz for the Huskies are should still be high, regardless. Right now, is Sam Levitt a first-round quarterback? Right now, he's not. He's not. Not that it's his fault, but he had the benefit of having Scadaboo standing right next to him last year. I want to see how he operates without having one of the best running backs in the country right next to him. That's a huge factor for me when I'm looking at quarterbacks. Are they responsible for driving the car for their team? That's why I've always been out on J.J. McCarthy. He's never been asked to do that. That's why I've always been in on Michael Penix. Yes, Penix had NFL receivers, but turn on the tape. That dude is dicing them. I was slow to roll on Bo Nix, though. It's looking like I'm going to be wrong on Bo Nix. Thoughts on Tyler Shuck? Keish, do me a solid. You can leave right now on the live, but type in Tyler Shuck, Max Brown on YouTube. I did a full Tyler Shuck breakdown. I went back and watched 6 games from his college career, I watched his first start ever at Oregon, then 2 starts at Texas Tech, and then 2 at Louisville. Because I was like, dude, where did this guy come from? How did he get here? No one even talked about him this time last year, and then he's a first-round quarterback. I would not have taken him where the Saints did. If you're playing 7 years in college, you better have command of a college offense at that point. To me, it gives me concern that it took him so long to ramp up. I know he had injury history, but I don't think he's a Pro Bowl level NFL starting quarterback. So I'm not there. But I get why the Saints took him. His film is really good. His film is really good at Louisville last year. It is super, super clean. He processes fast. He's accurate. But again, if you're 26, 27 years old, you should have that film. You know? Another factor, too, that I pay attention to, I've said this before for the loyal fans, but I'll say it again. One factor when evaluating quarterbacks for how they're going to jump from college to NFL that people don't talk about, that I think is a big one, how fast did they adjust from from high school to college? The 2 quarterbacks that I played with that are still in the NFL, Kenny Pickett and Sam Darnold, those 2 dudes, of all the quarterbacks I played with, they didn't have the freshman growing pains that all the other quarterbacks had. They could have operated and managed as a true freshman in college football. It wouldn't have been clean. They would have had to grow and develop and all that, but they could have at least operated. For me, I would have struggled to operate as a true freshman. I think a lot of true freshman quarterbacks are that way. I think Tyler Shuck struggled earlier on in his college career. That, to me, is a concern when you project forward for how a guy is going to progress from college to the NFL. Could my high school beat Mater Dei my senior year? Hell yeah. We were ranked higher than Mater Dei in the country, I believe. All right. I got to cut it off short. I got a thing at 1, and the lunch is coming. Today's YouTube video is my best performing, at least in the first, 6 hours, 4 hours. It's the best performing YouTube video I've had of my past 10 that I've posted. So go check it out. It's, what do I call it? What did I call it? What a quarterback battle is really like. And I'll walk you guys through that. Obviously, August is the month for quarterback battles. It's the football topic. Did a different lens on it. You guys will like it. Go check it out. Type in quarterback battle, Max Brown. It'll pop up. It's doing well so far. So hopefully we can take it to the next level. Posting YouTube videos in the off season was every Thursday. In season will be every Tuesday. And then keep a lookout. I'm going live in season at the most underappreciated football window, and why college football hasn't taken it, I don't know. But I'll be live at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern every single Sunday. The awkward hour when everyone is craving more football. The second window of NFL games just finished up. You have 50 minutes before Sunday Night Football comes on. You don't know where to consume ball. We'll be live on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram. We'll make it happen. And with that, I will see you. I'm gone next week. I'm traveling. I'll be in the wonderful Priest Lake, Idaho. Little final trip for summer before we get all ball mode. So I will not be live next week. And after that, it'll be game week. I will see you then. Thanks, everyone, for hanging.